The 2025 American Music Awards were meant to be a celebration of music's biggest names, a night where fans could come together to experience high-energy performances and see their favorite artists recognized. But instead of the spotlight shining on the music, much of the post-show conversation centered around controversy, particularly the backlash aimed at country superstar Blake Shelton and pop icon Gwen Stefani for their pre-taped performances. The couple, both seasoned performers and veterans of award shows, were expected to take the AMA stage live. Instead, their performances were pre-recorded and presented as if they were happening in real time. Fans who paid for tickets to see them live were met with an empty stage, and the confusion quickly spiraled into frustration. In response, Blake Shelton issued a direct and measured statement on social media, addressing the growing criticism. But the situation has prompted a broader conversation about transparency in award shows, audience expectations, and how much responsibility lies with the artists versus the event organizers. Let's take a deeper look at what went down, how the situation unfolded, and whether the criticism is justified. The setup: what fans expected versus what they got. The American Music Awards, AMAs, which aired on Memorial Day 2025 and were hosted by Jennifer Lopez, struggled from the outset. Despite its legacy and status as one of the music industry's most prominent nights, this year's show didn't generate much pre-show buzz. Many viewers were unaware the show was even happening, and several major artists who were nominated didn't attend in person. Still, those who did tune in or buy tickets expected a typical live performance experience. Blake Shelton was set to perform Stay Country or Die Try, and Gwen Stefani was slated to sing her new single, Swallow My Tears. Promotional material from the AMAs positioned their performances as live from the 2025 American Music Awards, the advertisements read. But what audiences in the venue actually saw was very different. When it came time for Blake and Gwen's performances, attendees were shown video footage on the arena screens. To the television audience, these pre-taped segments appeared seamless, as though they were happening live. But for the people in the building, many of whom had paid top dollar for a live experience, the absence of the artist was glaring. The fallout: disappointment turns to backlash. As news spread that Shelton and Stefani's performances were pre-recorded, fans expressed outrage on social media. Many felt deceived, believing they had purchased tickets under the assumption that they'd be seeing these major stars perform live on stage. The backlash wasn't just about the performances being pre-taped. It was about transparency. Fans felt the AMAs had advertised something they didn't deliver, and Blake and Gwen, two of the most high-profile artists on the night's lineup, were caught in the crossfire. Award shows have long used pre-taped segments, particularly for artists with complex setups or scheduling conflicts. It's not new, nor is it inherently deceptive, but rarely do these pre-taped performances get billed as live. That's where the AMA organizers may have misstepped. Blake Shelton breaks his silence. As the online criticism built, Blake Shelton addressed the controversy head-on via X, formerly Twitter. His statement was concise and calm. Just now seeing these stories about Gwen and I pre-taping our performances for the AMAs. We came and performed when the show asked us to. Really nothing else to say. In just a few words, Shelton made his position clear. This wasn't his call. He and Gwen did what was asked of them by the show's producers. They showed up, recorded their performances, and moved on. From a professional standpoint, Shelton's response was smart. Rather than getting defensive or shifting blame, he calmly redirected attention to the decision-makers, the people behind the scenes at the AMAs. He neither apologized nor denied the facts. He simply clarified the role he and Gwen played in the process. The bigger picture: is this just how award shows work now? Award shows have changed dramatically in recent years. Viewership numbers are down across the board, and producers are increasingly trying to create content that works just as well on social media as it does on traditional TV. This shift has led to more polished, tightly controlled performances, often recorded in advance to ensure quality and minimize the risk of live errors. Pre-taped performances are a natural extension of that evolution. They allow for more elaborate staging, controlled lighting and sound, and a polished end product. But they come at the cost of spontaneity and, more importantly, the trust of the live audience. For fans attending in person, the excitement of seeing a beloved artist live is a big part of the draw. When that expectation isn't met, it can feel like a bait and switch, even if the actual content on screen is high quality. So while pre-taping isn't new or inherently wrong, The way it's communicated is key. That's where the AMAs arguably dropped the ball. Misdirection or miscommunication. It's worth noting that nowhere in the promotional material did the AMAs state explicitly that Shelton and Stefani's performances would be live in person at the venue. But by saying live from the AMAs and featuring their names prominently, the implication was clear. Fans would see them on stage. This type of language isn't uncommon in entertainment marketing, where the line between suggestion and promise is often blurry. But in this case, the lack of clarity created real-world disappointment. Transparency could have prevented the backlash. If the AMAs had made it clear ahead of time which performances were pre-recorded or offered those details to ticket buyers, they could have avoided misleading their audience and managed expectations more effectively. The other AMA controversies. To add fuel to the fire, the AMAs were already under scrutiny for other issues. The show faced criticism from country music fans for awarding major country categories to artists who traditionally fall outside the genre, like Post Malone and Beyoncé. While gender blending is nothing new, the decision sparked heated debate about authenticity and representation in country music. Then there was a viral moment involving artists Shabuzi and Megan Thee Stallion that some fans found awkward and off-brand for the genre-focused segments of the show. All of these issues combined created a sense of disconnection between the awards show and its intended audience. Against that backdrop, the disappointment over Blake Shelton and Gwen Stefani's pre-taped performances became symbolic of a larger problem. The feeling that the AMAs were out of touch with the fans they were supposed to serve. Who's really to blame? When controversy like this erupts, it's tempting to look for someone to blame. But in this case, the fault doesn't lie with the artists. Blake Shelton and Gwen Stefani fulfilled their commitment. They performed the songs, and they likely had little to no control over how those performances were integrated into the broadcast. The responsibility lies with the show's producers and marketing team. They controlled the messaging, the scheduling, and the execution. If they made the call to pre-tape performances for logistical reasons, that's understandable. But by not being upfront about it, they risked undermining the audience's trust. In the entertainment world, perception is everything. When fans feel misled, it damages the credibility of both the show and the artists involved, even if unintentionally. Where do we go from here? The backlash surrounding Blake Shelton and Gwen Stefani's AMA performances highlights a larger issue in the entertainment industry: the widening gap between how events are produced and how fans experience them. For award shows, there's a clear takeaway: transparency matters. Pre-taping isn't the problem, lack of communication is. If fans are told ahead of time that certain performances will be pre-recorded, they're much more likely to accept it, especially if the quality is high. For artists, it's a reminder that public perception is often shaped by decisions they didn't even make. Sheldon's response was a smart one because it clarified his position without fueling the controversy further. It set the record straight without escalating the drama. Final thoughts: a teachable moment. In the end, this controversy might actually be a useful moment for the industry. It offers a chance for producers, artists, and promoters to reevaluate how they present live events in an age when so much of what we consume is carefully curated and polished. Award shows must find a balance between production quality and authenticity. And if fans are expected to pay premium prices for live tickets, they deserve to know what they're getting. Blake Shelton and Gwen Stefani did their jobs. They delivered performances that looked great on screen. But the people behind the AMAs need to take a closer look at how their decisions affect the very fans they rely on. As for country music fans, it might be time to demand more clarity from the institutions that represent their favorite artists. After all, country music has always prided itself on honesty and storytelling. Maybe it's time for award shows to do the same.